Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Drinks and Dystopia, the podcast. A podcast of quantum quandaries.
Quantum quandaries. There you go. Drinks Dystopia.
Episode 10.
Really?
Yeah, we've done this 10 times.
Oh, it feels like hundreds more.
Backtrack corner. There is no backtracks this week, I don't think, so far. We didn't get any messages from people moaning or
So I
complaining.
got everything right. Or no one's listening. Either way, I win.
I do want to mention, though, that my brother made us merchandise, so we have beautiful t-shirts. I'm wearing one right now. That's got a great logo on it for the TV show. For the podcast.
The TV show, that's the future. That's a few months from now when we go global.
Oh, we can pretend that we're global.
Yeah.
We can pretend that we're fancy real people with these t-shirts. I can't wear them outside because it's like wearing your own face on a t-shirt. But
yeah, and it's sort of reverse merchandise, isn't it? In the sense that we're not selling merch to anyone. Someone's giving us our own merch, which is good.
I think it's a good business model.
Yeah, I can't see any flaws of that. People just give us clothes with our own stuff on it. Brilliant.
Now we'll wear anything anyone sends me.
Ooh, okay. That was risky.
This week I have done research.
Oh my god.
Oh, wait, before that, what are you drinking?
This week I'm actually only drinking Pepsi Max. That's all I'm drinking. I know, yeah. Not drinking any alcohol today.
You disgust me.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Well, I'm making up for the both of us because I have a Hendrix and tonic.
Really?
With a huge ice ball in it.
Yeah.
An ice cube in the shape of a massive Death Star.
Or just a ball. Just a ball of ice. But we're
all
Death
balls
Star.
are Death Star shaped.
Almost true, yeah.
Okay, so this week's question.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this? Because it's going to mess with your head.
Oh, I'm so excited. Go on.
Okay, Lee. We're going to wipe the universe of one of these sagas, I suppose. Not saga, one of these franchises.
Okay.
Okay?
A franchise, okay.
And the decision is up to you.
All right, yes.
So are we
Power.
getting rid
You
of...
know how much I like power.
So once we get rid of it, it never existed, no one will remember it, and it can't be
Okay.
recreated.
Right, okay.
Are we getting rid of
Yeah.
Star Trek or
Right.
Star Wars?
Oh, what a position you put me in there.
You're going to anger everyone.
I know. Oh, I've got to get rid of Star Wars or Star Trek.
All of it as well. Everything.
Oh, wow. You have to warn me about something like this. This is big stuff.
The mini question. You got to go with it. Go.
This is the mini question?
This is the mini question.
This isn't even like the world that we like. There's a world without these two, one of these franchises. This is the mini question to start.
No, it's just the mini.
Oh my god.
The mini
Star Wars,
quandary.
Star Trek. It's so difficult because they're so different in so many ways. Like Star Trek is a little bit sort of, it's not quite a hard science, but it's closer, and it deals with moral stories and stuff.
And tribbles.
And obviously tribbles. And and then there's no Captain Kirk. No Captain Kirk. What a world.
And does that mean there's no Futurama? Zap Brannigan, because he's kind of a
Yes.
spin-off of Kirk.
Exactly, yeah. And
Does
all
William
know
Shatner even exist in films and TV if he didn't make
that was
it
his
big?
big break. So there are huge implications to this.
Mm-hmm.
With Star Wars is more, it's more fantasy, isn't it? It's more like a space fantasy.
Space opera.
Yeah, space opera, as they
Never
say.
really known what that meant.
Well, Star Wars, there, yeah. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, there. Sorted that one. They just do different things. I suppose what I would say. See, this is a difficult question, and I'm going to break so many hearts now. But like the thing is, Star Wars is kind of pants now. Like it was great if the prequels.
How dare you?
I know, but if the prequels had never been made, and even the prequels, I thought weren't as bad as people say. People say they're terrible.
Midtopia, Lee.
Yeah, Midtopia is bad. There's lots of bad about it, but I don't think they're as bad as people say. Whereas I would say, The Force Awakens is dreadful. Absolutely dreadful.
You're going to get so much hate for that.
I know. And
I like the new one. I know
the new one, Force Awakens is dreadful. Rogue One is pretty good.
I like that.
And the newest one, Last Jedi is alright as well.
Well, almost everyone disagrees with us as well. So apparently I've heard that if you like Force Awakens, you didn't like the new one. And if you
Yeah, that
like
makes
the new
sense.
one, then you didn't like Force Awakens, which
Yeah.
is true for everyone I've talked to and
Me
met
too.
so far.
Me too,
And
actually.
apparently it's just a different way that you like your stories to be told and what you think of Star Wars in terms of what is canon.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It is interesting.
Well, that's when you speak about it in like filmmaking terms, I can totally understand why people have a problem with The Last Jedi. I can come everyone like all critiques I've heard of The Last Jedi, I kind of agree with. But there's something about it that I just came out of the cinema and I'd enjoyed it. I'd had fun. Whereas with the Force Awakens, I came out of the cinema furious. It just wasn't enjoyable. It was.
I'm going to give you a spoiler for The Force Awakens. So this is quite old now, but like I didn't cry when Han died. And if you know me, you know I'll cry at the drop of a hat. Like you just say, "I'll think of a puppy," and I'll cry. Whereas when he died on screen, they didn't evoke any emotions from me. Whereas in this new one, I did get little moments where I got upset. Some of it was awful, and there is parts of it and that people talk about, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't know why I like the new one, but I left it really enjoying myself.
Yeah, I think that's.
But so are we wiping it from the?
Well, this is we could let's get out of this debate too quick. But I suppose what my argument was going to be, but then I instantly had to backtrack in my mind, was because I was going to say, well, Star Trek has never got pants. It was great, but then I just heard the new series is abysmal.
What
abysmal.
About? There's so many Star Treks that are abysmal.
Yeah, I suppose you could say it was. The original series was the best. Then the
Deep
Next
Space
Generation.
Nine started to go down.
Yeah, Deep Space Nine was the beginning.
What was the one with the guy from Quantum Leap? What was that one?
Yeah, that was just called Enterprise, wasn't it?
Well, that.
And the Voyager.
I
wasn't
don't even
very
know
good.
about that one. I love Star Trek, and I've never seen that one. So.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I suppose.
And people love the new Star Trek. Love it.
Yeah, they're wrong. They're just categorically wrong. It is.
We haven't watched it all though.
We haven't. But from the episodes I've seen, I could wax lyrical about everything that's wrong with the Star Trek.
You have in the past. I've cut it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think every episode I have a rant about the new Star Trek series at some point. So yeah. So I contradict myself in saying that Star Trek hasn't got as bad as Star Wars, because it has, and it's in some ways it's probably got worse, but in some ways it's got better.
I think the only way you can judge this question is by thinking about what TV shows have done for practical science. So because of Star Trek, we're trying to invent a way to
the replicator
and the way to go through space. We're trying to invent light speed. Because of Star Wars, we're trying to prove the Force. We're trying to prove the Force, which is turning out to be like kind of like the God particle, not the God. No, do you know what I mean? The ether and like dark matter and stuff. And people are saying what connects everything and stuff, and it's all kind of.
Oh, this is nonsense. This is new age nonsense.
No, I know. But what I mean is, it's just looking more. It's making people interested in science in terms of chemistry rather.
Well, I think if I had to get rid of one, I'd get rid of Star Wars, because I think Star Trek has actually contributed to society in a more sort of fundamental way. That Star Wars is good. It's a good fantasy. It's in the same way that Lord of the Rings is a good fantasy. It's a very good vehicle for telling dramatic stories and emotional stories, whereas I think Star Trek is actually it's almost a vision of the future and something to aspire to.
Also though, no Indiana Jones, because
also is George Lucas doesn't exist now.
Well, if he didn't make Star Wars, he wouldn't have got Indiana Jones, and he wouldn't have had Harrison Ford, so that's gone.
Yeah, it's true. So we lose Indiana Jones as well. Although
what
I think
Yoda.
Yeah,
Frank Oz is great as well.
But on the plus side, we also lose Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So I think just for that reason, we have to get rid of Star Wars. In fact, we really should get rid of Star Wars if it means we don't get that abortion of a movie. The worst movie ever made. That is the worst movie ever made. I'm going to go out and say it.
It's a hard one between the two, but I would say I would probably keep Star Trek.
Yeah.
Even
we agree.
My heart is in Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars. But when you start to think of, like you had the first interracial kiss on television in Star Trek and stuff, like it actually did quite good. And it's people's vision of the future. Sci-fi is normally very down on the future, whereas Star Trek is always a beacon of hope. People always feel like, oh, we could definitely achieve that version of the future one day.
Yeah.
So I think Star Trek's more
it's
optimistic.
aspirational, yeah. Whereas Star Wars is clearly just fictional nonsense, but it's fun.
Well, it's a galaxy far, far away. So you don't
know.
know.
A long time ago.
Yeah, you don't know. It could be the past.
But there's so much about it which is nonsense. The lightsaber, the Force.
I know, but
It's
that's
all
what's great
nonsense.
about it. It's a beautiful bit of fantasy.
Exactly, it's fantasy, and that's great. But Lord of the Rings also fulfills that, really. And
So next week I'll do Star Wars versus Lord of the Rings.
Oh God, okay, that's a tricky one.
So Star Trek, we agreed.
Star Trek stays.
Okay, whoop, Star Wars is gone now.
Bye, Star Wars.
So this week's. Oh no, wait, creature feature.
Oh, creature feature.
Creature feature. Creature feature.
Oh God, that's a good jingle. That's
That
catchy.
was awful. No, wait. It's gonna be more animal based. Creature feature. Creature feature.
But I noticed there's a monkey theme there, and that's very apt because the creature feature this week is the fact that the Chinese have cloned two little monkeys. They've cloned them.
They're so cute as well.
They are the cute little buggers. But it's quite scary because you think, well, if they can do it to a monkey, they could do it to us people.
I did read an article about this, and they did say that, like, obviously everyone's going to expect it. It is closer to humans than a sheep, but it's still
quite far away.
Very far away.
Yeah, and it's like there's limitations to it as well. They can't do it. It's not like they can't clone from adult cells, so they can't take like the cells of an adult monkey and then clone that monkey. What they essentially have done is taken cells from an aborted fetus and put that into another fetus or something, and then they've cloned them from that. So they're basically two clones of an aborted fetus. Kind of strange.
So really, it's kind of no different to twins. I have a question: Is two identical twins, are they exact clones of each other? Is there any difference if you had two identical twins and two clones? Would you be able to tell that there's a difference in their DNA?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think twins are like identical on a genetic level, are they? There is
I think so.
There is differences, isn't there?
I don't know.
Because twins, when they say identical twins, they're not actually identical, is they? Like, twins don't look exactly the same. There are if you have friends who are twins, you know which one's which after a while because they have different gestures. They look different. They speak differently. They're not
exactly the same. Isn't that just from the womb? Consumes more and who eats more in the womb and pushes the other one out. Can't wait, fetus.
Punching each other in the face. I don't know exactly how it works.
The stronger twin.
Yeah.
The evil twin and the stronger twin.
Mm.
Yeah, but they are really cute. So if you haven't seen them, you should go and have a look at the little cloned monkeys. It's weird, it's exciting, and terrifying all at the same time.
Yeah, they look like hairy little scrotums with eyes. Is what they look like.
I think that's all monkeys, though.
Yeah, little baby monkeys. That's what they all look like.
Baby monkey. Well, that's actually quite an apt creature because we're talking about China today in our New World Rule.
Right. Okay. So we're getting to the meat of the podcast now.
This is the most I have ever researched, like ever.
Like anything in your life.
Yeah. Exams, anything.
Yeah.
And it's less than half a page. So of an A5.
Yeah,
so it's not even A4.
Such a small amount of writing.
So Lee knows this, but I am obsessed with Black Mirror.
Yes.
I love it.
You do.
We have a sci-fi podcast, so you may know that we like sci-fi, but I love Black Mirror because it just, every episode makes you think and you have to sit there. It's kind of like our podcast, but done really well, very thoughtfully and very seriously.
So it's not like our podcast at all.
No, but ours would be like Dirty Mirror.
It's roughly in the same genre at a push.
Ours is Dirty Mirror.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Very good.
Broken Mirror.
Yeah.
Shit on Mirror. I really wanted to do one of the things they do in there and kind of investigate the world more. And then I saw an article talking about things that in the world that already exist that Black Mirror has done.
Okay.
So there are things in the TV show that are put forward as concepts that already exist in the world.
Right.
So this isn't spoilers, by the way, for the new season that's on Netflix. This is from last season. But there's an episode called Nosedive. And now I know you haven't seen this, so I know you're not going to be influenced by this episode. But it's an episode that shows, I think it's written by Rashida Jones and someone else.
Oh, okay.
A writing partner. But it's an episode about social media.
Right.
And how social media decides your place in society.
Right.
Have you seen you haven't seen that episode, but you've seen references to it, I think.
I think so, yeah. I think I've seen one where there's a woman and it depends on how many likes you've got and stuff, and people rate you, and then you can, like, she's invited to a wedding, but then because her rating goes down, she's uninvited to the wedding because she's got too lower rating and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. But so in this episode, everything is derived from that. And I remember watching it and thinking, I think like everyone, like, oh, that's very similar to, you can see how from our society right now that could happen.
Yeah.
But we won't let that happen because that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, guess what China have done?
Right.
So I read an article this week. Okay, so this is a bit long, but I'm going to explain it to you.
Okay.
And this is going to be the first one we've ever done that kind of already exists. So it's not really sci-fi at the moment. It is science fact.
Science fact.
And we're going to look at how it would apply to the larger world.
It's sci-fi.
Well, sci-near. So in China, what's huge at the moment is Bpay kind of thing, where they pay on your phone. I think they call it Airpay.
Yeah.
So they're all paying on their phones. This has become so huge that people in China now are known to not leave the house with their wallets. They just have their phones. So I read this amazing article on Wired.com, and it was talking about how suddenly on people's Bpay accounts there appeared this button, and it was called the Zima credit. I think that's how you spell it. Zhima. Zima?
Yeah, Zhima.
So it's called Zima credit.
Oh, I suppose in Chinese, is it like,
Zhima?
would it be Jimma?
Zhima.
Maybe?
And this kind of icon appeared, and people would press it, and it would be like, get your rating. So what it would do is it has a secret algorithm, and no one knows apart from the head people how this algorithm works. But now, a huge proportion of Chinese people are part of this Zhima credit system. So all people know about the algorithm is that it's slightly determined from the spending you have, from how much debt you have, and also from your friends and family's ratings. So if you're a known associate with other people through social media, which they can obviously, they don't have Facebook and stuff, so they can contain it more.
Yeah.
So you have this algorithm. So what this means at the moment in China is you're getting rendered a score, and your score determines, are you ready for the things your score currently really does determine in China?
Okay.
Whether they can get loans, which, is very basic.
It's credit rating, yeah.
We have that in the West as well. What hotels you can stay in.
Oh.
Whether you can live in certain apartment buildings.
Okay.
And this isn't about being rich. So there's poorer people that have better ratings than rich people.
Right.
So it's not completely driven by money. It's driven by a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So if you were going to rent, like in London, they call them Boris bikes, the bikes you rent to drive around the city.
Mm-hmm.
They're free, but if you've got a bad Zhima rating in China, you'll have to put a deposit on for the bike.
Right.
If you rent a car, you'll have to pay a bigger deposit than someone that doesn't have a good rating. The seating you're allowed to sit on in trains and buses is determined by your rating. How quickly you can get seen in a hospital is determined by this.
Holy shit.
There's special dating apps for different levels of your rating. And at one time, and this is mental, at one time when it first began, if your rating was high enough, you could skip airport security. And it also means that you can be skipped ahead of the queue to get visas for other countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it?
The government of China said it's nudging social behaviours.
Oh, I see. So that's why they like it, because the Communist Party there is saying, we can basically mould people to do certain things by bullying them with this rating system. Yeah,
but this is where it's hard, because there's a part of it that has a very good vein in it of goodness. You are being a good person, and it is being determined by the good things you do. So if you pay more to charities and stuff, you're going to get a better rating and things. If you are seen to be on time and stuff, then it's going to give you better ratings and things. But what they're trying to implement, which they haven't done yet, is in China they have a very big testing system for students. And it's such a high pressure test that some students are known to cheat. So if you cheat on that test, they want to know, and the government are trying to make it so that can affect your credit rating. So dishonest people will automatically get a much lower rating.
Yeah.
So I want you to imagine, let's say that for some reason all the governments of the world are we like what those guys are doing.
Yeah, China, they've got it all figured out.
So how do you think, good and bad, this would affect all of society?
It's a very interesting idea. It's very I find it slightly sinister, but it's interesting.
Yeah, but it's good intentions, which is not always a good thing.
Well, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, the greater good.
The greater good. The scariest phrase in human history. Yeah, it's the positives, yes, they're right in the sense that it shapes positive behaviors. So it's all about, you encourage what you want people to do and you discourage what you don't want them to do, and you do that through using incentives and disincentives, don't you? So it's incentivizing positive actions, which is good.
And it is nice to have... So people who aren't that rich in China right now are getting better loans for their cars and stuff, and if they're quite honest people, that means that they're going to be able to stay in hotels and rent apartments they never would have been allowed to before. So it's taking wealth out of it a little bit. But, and that would be all well and good if it was only rewarding, but because it punishes, that means you're being good out of fear.
Yes, and that's always, as we've often discussed, it's like you can't, by forcing someone to be good, they're not really being good. Sorry,
but the worrying part is it's a secret algorithm, so you don't know what you're getting rewarded for. What if you're getting rewarded for... Everyone always thinks that, like, you know, luckily, the government's okay. But if bad people get in and change that algorithm, everybody's lives will suffer just because they're not doing the bad things that the government wants them to do.
It's a very important point, that, I think. It's like, if you don't know what the algorithm is, we don't know what it is, who determines the algorithm? It's the ultimate thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, we want things to be good. We want everyone to follow the law and stuff. It's like, yeah, but who determines the law? And that's the problem, isn't it, with this algorithm? Because what if this algorithm, who decides what's good and what's bad?
I wouldn't have such a problem with it if it seemed like it was just about like your spending and stuff. Like if it was linked to, like, you had bad loans or you didn't pay things back or you had late payments, kind of like our credit system is now, because it's all about money kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those hotels and apartments and stuff are kind of basing it almost like a guarantor system. It's like, oh, you have a good credit rating, basically, which makes sense to me.
You're financially trustworthy.
Yeah, but when you start putting friends into it, so what this person was saying in the article is it's quite a new system. So people are still quite willing to, like, get a friend who messages them and says, oh, I've got a really bad rating. Do you mind liking me on this social site to put my rating up? And they'll be like, yeah. But the longer people have it, the wider that gap is becoming, and the more serious it is.
Yeah.
So you're going to get to a point where you can't dig yourself out of that hole.
Yeah.
Where, like, no one's going to want to be around you, and then the people that are friends with you are going to drop you because you're bringing down their rating.
Yeah.
Which is what happens in the Black Mirror.
Yeah.
It's just a snowball, which is why it's called nosedive, because once one thing starts to happen, they all start to happen. We very quickly got off good points.
Yeah, I think that's because the good points, I think, are very...
They're very surface.
Yeah, they're very superficial.
Well, this guy in this article was saying that, like, it's messed with his head because he gave $3 to charity. And then he was like, so will that mean the algorithm's like, wow, you did a good thing? Or will the algorithm be like, you didn't give enough?
Yeah, that's not enough money to give
you
to charity.
cheapskate, down points.
Yeah.
And he says that, like, he checks it obsessively to try and work out the algorithm of what he's doing.
Yeah.
But then there was someone else he mentioned that didn't have very good points because they lived with their parents and stuff. Like, do different jobs get rewarded? So if the government has a field that it's trying to fill, so do you get more points if you go into that kind of job? Because then people... I don't know, it's weird. It's so interesting, but terrifying.
Yeah, I do not like it. I do not like this at all.
I don't want to be told what to do.
Yeah, you know that's my bag of just being like, everyone leave me alone, don't tell me what to do. And it's just the ultimate sort of just control, isn't it? It's everything in your life is determined by some government allotted completely arbitrary ranking system. It's like and it's so ironic, isn't it? I suppose it's like in communist China they've now introduced this rigid, completely unjustified hierarchy system when communism's all supposed to be about the elimination of hierarchy. That's what they've done.
But that's what the whole thing is, that they're nudging social behaviours, which is such a funny way of saying making people do what we want to do.
Yeah, forcing people to do what we want them to do.
Well, the hospital queues is the ones that upsets me. Because, like, that's kind of saying you're a better person, you deserve life more than someone else because you haven't repaid your loan back on time.
That is literally putting a value on human life. It's saying, your life is fundamentally worth less than someone else's life.
But once you click the button, it sounds like you're involved.
Don't
you want to click that button? I would want to click that button and find out what my rating was so bad.
Well, so is this a situation where, what if you don't have the rating system? Is all these hotels and stuff just won't let you use their facilities and stuff?
Forgot this. So what happens is if you don't use it, it's got to the point where it's so important that they just render a result for you, a default one, and you suffer because you didn't sign up for it.
Oh, brilliant! So you're being coerced. It's not even voluntary.
I would like to say this is all based off one article, so this could be completely off the point. It could just be this one guy's pick. It sounded quite interesting. If you want to have a look, it's on Wired.com. Is that a good website?
Yeah.
Science.
Yeah, Wired is good.
It's quite serious, I feel.
Do kids have ratings?
Oh, I was just going to say that. Do you think a baby's rating is automatically influenced from birth, from their parents' rating?
Yeah, that's quite a sinister idea.
Oh, in China, can you imagine if this isn't happening? But can you imagine if the Chinese government were like, how many children you're allowed to have is determined by your rating? Because they can only have one.
Yeah.
Is that still a thing?
I think the one-child policy is still in place. I think.
Do you know that Australia has a 2-dog policy? You can only have 2 dogs.
I didn't know that.
It might be a Queensland thing, but you can only have 2 dogs unless you live on a farm, and then you can have more. But it's determined by your distance from the sea.
I didn't know that.
How dare they?
I know.
I want to be covered in dogs.
Very dare they? Yeah.
I want to be surrounded in a sea of dogs.
But this is crazy to me, because it's like, how can, again, not to make this political, but of course I'm going to. How can a communist country that is all about like, oh, we should, abolish privilege and all this sort of stuff. What if a child does is they affected? I mean, they must be affected by the first rating you get. Must be affected by your parents and your upbringing and your brothers and sisters and stuff.
It didn't say anything, but I would hope it's a blank slate, and then it's determined by your scores at school, apparently.
Your school scores.
Yeah.
But if it's your family and friends, you'd be if your parents were both, drunks who were massively in debt, well, surely that would affect your rating then, wouldn't it?
I guess it would at 18, but maybe they give you... I'm just making this up now, but maybe they would give you until 18 to get your life sorted. But then would I would encourage kids to dump their parents, be like, nah, get rid of those guys.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there probably would be lots of kids who would have to separate from their parents because they're like, oh, would it lead to loads of parents giving up their kids?
Aww.
Because they were like, well, we've got a terrible rating.
But that would probably give you a really bad rating as well.
Well, like getting rid of your kids. But yeah, but it wouldn't affect your child's rating, would it? So you'd to save them, you'd.
But then that wouldn't add up your rating because you did a really selfless thing.
Yeah, maybe. But at the same time, who fucking knows?
Do you think that you lose points if you take money out and pay by cash because then they're not tracking what you're spending?
Yeah, you're right. That's another thing, isn't it? Is that they want to track where your money's going and how you're spending it.
And then they can see a trail of where you're going because what you're paying.
Yeah.
So do you think that how long, if this stays in China, how long until money doesn't exist in China? As in, paper money.
As in cash.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going that way anyway, aren't we? But yeah, in China, it would be a lot quicker.
How long?
Right.
How long until money's gone? Cash is gone. Tell me now.
Okay. I would say...
One exact date.
2030.
Tuesday?
It's gone. Not a Tuesday. I reckon they'll do it on a Monday. Will be the start of no cash. So Monday, the 28th of August, 2030.
Imagine you were right.
I know. Yeah. Keep this observation.
Your credit go through the roof.
Yeah.
All down because they'll think you're a wizard.
Yeah. But the wizards get penalised as well.
Oh, wizards are in the minus.
Is anti-wizard bigotry built into this algorithm? Wow.
This one is weird because it's not more terrifying than some of the worlds you've created with your crying weird baby sacks. Or the meteor. They're scarier in theory, but because this is real, it gives me the chills. Ugh.
Yeah, there is always something more, more sort of confronting, isn't there? When you're faced with a concept which is not just possible, but is somewhat probable. There's
so many problems with this. If you commit a crime and you go to prison, you kind of are sentenced to an amount of time under the proviso that you've done your time and now you're back in society. Obviously, people that have been to prison really struggle with society accepting them and things. But if you were linked to a credit rating that was determined by that act, even though you'd been in prison, your rating would be abysmal. So it would be like a prison.
It's a double punishment, isn't it? It's like we're punishing you for your crime, which is 5 years in jail or whatever. Then you come out, they're like, oh, well done, you've done your time, you've served your sentence. Oh, by the way, you now have an abysmal credit rating, so you'll never be able to get a job, never be able to do anything.
The weird thing about this, though, saying all of this, is that I don't disagree in a pro rating. So, like, I don't disagree that, like, let's say tomorrow the government said, every time you do some community service in your own time, or if you do this, we'll give you benefits. I have no problem with it if it's only a plus.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea, I think.
Do you imagine that if they were like, oh, every time you give blood, or if every time you go to your local community centre and you like read to hospice patients, or you help, like,
give food to a food bank or give money to charity.
Yeah. If every time you did that, I don't know. I suppose they already take your tax away when you do charitable events. I mean, in a way, that is kind of a benefit. But
well, yeah, no, that'd be great. I think if you could build up, community service credits or something, and they deducted that from your tax bill, or they provide, or it had some sort of,
sent you like flowers or balloons.
No, I don't want flowers or bloody balloons.
What about a calendar, and every month there's a different government employee, just like, ooh, credit.
Oh, definitely not. I'd burn down the food bank if that was the thing. Just
you
so I
are
guaranteed...
a government employee as well. Do you think you'd get great credit because you're part of the government?
Because I'm part of the machine.
And I know. The thing is, I know some people listening are going to be like, but why would it be a bad thing? Because people are being good, even if the intentions is fear. But think about it, because you're wrong.
Well, here we go. Here's an
Sorry, I'm joking.
No, don't do the whole I'm only joking thing. No, okay, I'll give you an example. Obviously, day-to-day example, right?
Okay.
Some kid leaves school, and all he wants to be is an artist. All he's ever wanted to do was paint pictures or write songs or play an instrument. Yeah, that's what he wants to do. The Chinese government sees no utility in that. That's just decadent, capitalist, self-indulgence.
You need to say the empire instead. Well, it's mythical, so say the empire instead of China.
Okay, so the empire sees no value, okay, in you pursuing frivolous activities. They just see it as this sort of decadent,
You're not helping build that Death Star.
Yeah.
You are not helping society.
You're not contributing. So that kid who wants to create beautiful art or wants to create wonderful music or poetry, he's now penalised. He or she are now penalised for their natural creative exploits. Whatever.
Like, I don't think the people who come up with this idea think of themselves as the bad guys. They're not trying to be evil. They're only seeing it as, but society will be better. Yeah,
absolutely.
Fear will rain down upon every man, woman, and child, but be good for everyone, right?
Well, that's it. It comes from, I think it comes from a certain arrogance. It's an arrogance of saying.
It is also a good place. It comes from.
Yeah, but it's a good intention, but it's based in arrogance, because what it is it's saying, I know what's best for everyone else in the world. I know what's good and what's bad. I know what's valuable. So I think everyone should do these things that I have arbitrarily decided are valuable. I'm doing a good thing because these things are valuable. So I'm making everyone do it. It's like, yeah, but they're only valuable because you think they're valuable. That's your selfishness. That's your arrogance. What you might think is valuable, I don't. And what I think is valuable, you won't. And that's the nature of human beings, is that we are different. Some people, I like sport a lot. I really, really like sport. I like cricket.
Boo, ban it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I think Black Mirror is good, because it's like a cautious tale into why this might not happen. So it might be put off in the UK because people have seen that. That sounds really simplistic, but I do think...
No, yeah, in a way it is, because it does sort of prepare people for it.
Sometimes I see an episode of Black Mirror and it's an idea I like, and then I'm like, don't do this. No one will want it anymore. This is not one of them, but sometimes there's other stuff. The other one I saw, so it was an article talking about what is true already, and Google has already put a patent down for contact lens video. Contact lenses you wear that film everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Samsung are in the process of inventing a screen you wear on a contact lens so you can constantly see your phone screen on your eye.
Really?
Yeah. Off topic, but...
Yeah. That's kind of horrifying as well, isn't it? But
yeah.
But maybe exciting as well. I suppose everything, it's all...
But basically there already. We film everything and take photos of everything, so...
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose it's just, as with everything, it's just like, if there's choice involved and it's voluntary, and I've got no problem with it, but it's when it's the forcing and the coercing. Yeah, I don't know. This idea is so all-encompassing, isn't it? It's like...
It's not funny.
No.
This is the least funny podcast we've ever done. It's all doom and gloom.
It's just been me whinging about it, basically, but...
What about dating? I quite like the idea of knowing, before I go on a date, that there's a dating app that only people that are considered to be good people are allowed to be on.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, that is a good side of it. That it would be like, well, I know that you're a rapist, so you've got a low rating. Or whatever. Well,
no, there's dating apps you can only access if you've got a good rating.
If you've only got good ratings, that's really good. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. You're like, well, I know you're not a rapist because you're on this app, which means you must have a high rating.
But what if they're a rapist, but they're really good with charities?
Yeah. Well, this is again, we need to know what the algorithm is, because it could just be like, well, okay, yeah, money's not everything, but if you've got $10 million, they're like, oh, well, you've got a super rating. Do you know what I mean? So then you can get away with murder, quite literally.
You can murder someone, but as long as your dad is like head of the government who's got a brilliant rating, you're fine. Yeah. This is the other thing as well. It sounds very equal. Like, it seems like everyone's equal as long as they do good things. But what you're doing is just creating a class system.
Yeah, it's a hierarchy. It's a rigid... They've introduced a new rigid hierarchy that is based...
Middle credit,
on
high
some
credit,
sort of algorithm.
low credit.
Yeah, it's not fair. That's not fair at all. Aren't we all supposed to have access to the same things? All have the same opportunities?
God, though, Lee, I think you're missing some good things here.
Okay.
What if I said to you, there's a cinema, and you can only go in that cinema if you've got a good rating?
Oh, I think that's an amazing idea. All cinemas should do that. All cinemas should do that.
We changed our minds. Let's move to China.
Yeah, this is the best idea ever. I'm very strongly of the opinion that cinemas should be very similar to sort of...
morgues.
Yeah, morgues, concentration camps, or something like that, where it's like no one should be allowed to do anything ever, and there should just be these violent, sadistic guards patrolling the cinema, waiting for somebody to breathe too loudly and just to take a rubber hose to them. That's all I think.
And Lee does get annoyed at people for breathing too loudly.
Oh, I've chastised many people in cinemas for breathing too loudly. It's infuriating. Just, you should be utterly silent. You've just paid money to watch something. Why would you make noise? It blows my mind. I wonder if doing community service in that sort of sense, though, would make people more... You'd know that doing good acts would increase your rating because you have to do it. Would that then naturally make you just do good acts more?
Yes, because you were scared.
You were scared to do it.
No, but maybe our generation, maybe we're being cynical here, because maybe our generation, that's what it would be. But then children would just grow up, they've always had a rating, so their parents tell them to do good things, so maybe the next generation would actually be better people just because of that.
Yeah, is it habit? Like, is it habit forming, doing good things?
It is, and this is why I think that having a benefit system for doing good things is a very good idea. I think, though, the people that would benefit from this system are the manipulative ones that would be, like, smart enough to get ahead.
To game the system.
Yeah, the people that would just go about their lives and do good things are the ones that would actually suffer because they wouldn't play the game. Like, if your friend rang you and was like, I've just moved back home and I haven't been part of this system, so I've got a default shitty rating. We've been friends for 10 years. Would you add me? And you knew the odds were going to go down. You'd be like, oh, of course. Like, of course I'll add you. So, but a dickhead would be like, no.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm not adding you.
You'll affect my rating.
So...
And would it discourage small acts of kindness? So, for example, you see your neighbour and they're trying to, pull in their bins or something from outside, or they're walking home with all this heavy shopping. You're like, oh, I'll help you with that. But of course, you can't use your card to scan and get any points.
But in the Black Mirror episode, you can. So everyone has their phone constantly, and when someone does something good for them, like their profile appears because they're near them, their phone's near them, and they just like them.
Yeah.
And every time you get a like,
but wouldn't it? Like how, for example, if you go to New York or America, yeah, and somebody in a hotel does something absolutely rudimentary for you, and you're supposed to tip them. Yeah. And when you don't tip them, they get arsey with you. They actually get aggressively rude with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would that situation happen where an old lady crossing the road, you help her across the road, and she doesn't have her phone on her because she's old or she doesn't know. She just goes, "Oh, thank you," and the person just goes, "Oh," and they just and they would.
Yeah,
people would be dicks.
Why it's not true altruism, isn't it? If you're doing it,
you're doing it for a reward.
Yeah, I think there's a thing with kids, isn't there, where you shouldn't, and dogs as well. Not that dogs and kids are the same, but like where
they're similar.
But like with a dog, they tell you when it learns a new trick to start off by giving it food, but that you need to slow down the food because in the end it will only do that trick for food.
Yeah,
it won't know that sitting when you say sit is what it needs to do.
Yeah, so you can't just use positive reinforcement, through gift giving or whatever constantly.
Yeah, because then they're only doing it for the gift.
Yeah. And I think there's a danger of that, isn't it? Any sort of system which organises and commodifies generosity or kindness, that's the danger, isn't it? It's like it's always the danger. As soon as you start forcing people to do things and you make a commodity out of kindness, it's not really kindness anymore. It's this weird sort of selfish sort of, I don't know what it is really, but it's
fakery.
Yeah, it is fakery, isn't it?
Smoke, mirrors, and fakery.
Yeah, it's just not good. It's not good. I just don't feel like that's a good thing.
Can't we all just be nice?
You just be nice for the sake of, because it's morally, ethically, and emotionally the good thing to do.
Yeah.
Why can't that be the reason? I
think though it does show a very big lack in faith in people to have a system like that.
Yeah.
Because it's saying you're only being good because you're getting these points, and I don't trust you to be a good person unless I know what points you've got.
Yeah.
And I'm only letting you into my establishment if I think that you've ticked all the boxes for a list I don't even know the items of.
Mm.
So I think people are good, and you should always give second chances.
And there's
unless they're a proper douche and they talk in the cinema. Then
then there should be no second chances for such people.
This is so political, this one.
This is a very political one, isn't it? But it's a very political idea, isn't it? I suppose it is massively political.
I didn't think it was. It was so funny. I read the article and I was going through it all and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I thought it was just a bank. But then I got to the part where the government was making the algorithm. I was like, oh, Lee's not going to like this one. Do you think in a place where this happens, you'd have little communities that got built up, like really small communes that like people would move to, where ratings didn't matter and you could all just live there together and you grow your own food so you didn't have to? That
is such a good point. Yes, I think they probably would, and I'd probably want to move there. Yeah. If you had little communities which were like, yeah, we could go here, we're going to set up a bank and a supermarket and a hotel and all that sort of stuff.
Because officially,
and it's not going to affect we don't look at ratings.
Because officially, you can't get arrested for having a bad rating. Like, that's not part of it at the moment, anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that would happen. Absolutely, I think that would happen.
I think that would happen quite rapidly as well. Like, you'd get people that had a good rating going while they could. Would the credit become a religion?
This is always your thing. Everything is always, would it become a religion?
All hail the algorithm.
Yeah, like you're obsessed with people suddenly just setting up random religions. What was the last one? And you're like, would that become a religion? Would people praise the comet, the meteor? You're like, would people pray to the meteor? I was like, why would people pray to the meteor?
I think they would. And I also think that people would be like, oh, hail the algorithm. Yeah. Oh, algorithm. Benefit me. Praise be, algorithm. Bestow coins upon me and my family.
How stupid would you have to be to think you could pray to a computer algorithm? That's a whole level of stupid that I can't even wrap my head around.
So is this Utopia, Dystopia, or Midtopia?
I would say it's probably a Midtopia, probably.
At the moment.
Yeah, it should definitely be Midtopia, but okay, we're going to keep saying Midtopia now because you've committed to it.
Yes.
So it's a Midtopia, I would say, because it's leaning towards dystopia because I can see the benefits of it. I don't think it would be like a world of pure horror, but it's not a world.
It is if you're in the bad credit.
Yeah, but it would also people would do lots of good stuff. So it's not like a dystopia is where there is essentially no good sides. It's essentially hell. Whereas this is not hell. It's just not very pleasant.
Would you rather live here or the world of last week?
What was the world of last week?
Don't know. Oh, no electricity.
For those people who need to be caught up, I totally remember what it was. But
no electricity.
No electricity or probably this world, to be fair, which is again why it's probably a Midtopia. I would take the credit world, the rating world over the no electricity world.
I just listened to everything you said, and this is not what I was expecting. These answers were not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. It's not great, but there's worse. There's worse than this.
I think we have at least got ourselves banned from 4 or 5 countries from this podcast.
Yeah, probably.
I am interested in people's opinion because the thing is, when we talk about stuff, and I've probably said this before, but we want our minds to be changed about stuff, don't we?
Absolutely.
We're very open to anyone's opinions as long as they are the same as ours.
Yeah, absolutely the same.
No, but seriously, if you have any ideas or points, or you just want to tell everyone that Lee's wrong,
keep it to yourself.
Keep it to yourself.
That's my advice on most weeks.
Or send us a tweet at drinks_dystopia, email at drinksandystopia@hotmail.com, or go and visit our website at drinksandystopia.blogspot.com. We're also on iTunes, Stitcher, and anywhere else you find your podcast.
Oh, brilliant.
Buy a Casper mattress.
But yeah, genuinely, send it in. Say what we've missed and things, so we've got a new perspective on things, so we can, and maybe we can discuss it in Backchat Corner.
Or not.
Or not, or we just ignore these emails and just carry on with our lives.
Give us a good credit rating. Your drink. Have you got anything left in your can?
Nope.
2 dystopias.
2 dystopias.
Ooh.
Cheers.